street lights lit this town like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up now. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up now.
Ember.
Oh, Ember.
Miss Ember.
Oh, great, Ember. Tell me what I'm doing.
Appreciate you, Ember.
Love Ember. She's great.
Bottom of the barrel Ember bullshit.
Oh my God, Ember.
Ember. Ember.
Ember.
We love you, Ember.
You rock at that, Ember.
Ember is the queen.
We're neighbors, Ember.
I see you, Ember.
Hey, Ember is hot.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Congratulations on surviving this far into the future. You are one of the only 8 billion humans to make it this far. You should feel good about that. I'm joined today by a new face that many of you may not have seen around these parts before. It is the one, the only, Misinterpretations. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I see you, Ember. Thank you for having me. It's good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. It's been a minute since we got to play together.
Yes.
The last time was over at your place, although there were some issues with the videos that resulted. So people may not have even seen us together before.
Maybe not, but they might.
For
They
anybody
might.
who doesn't know, would you give a quick rundown of who you are and where you do and all those things?
Well, thank you. I still am not real good at my my elevator pitch. Hi, I'm Misinterpretations, and I like to talk about the brain and belief on my channel. I also talk a little bit about myths from Greco-Roman romances, because that is something that I have studied. I taught science in high school for many years, but I also have a couple of degrees in religion and master's in education as well. So yeah, so there you go. That's me. I've forgotten everything I ever learned about physics in college, but hey, not everything, but but I like to talk about lots of
It
different things.
happens. Not all of us can be laser weasels.
Right. I know.
That's a
Yeah.
reference to Dr. Vandergraff on
I know.
BSS. For
I
anybody who doesn't
know.
know.
Dr. Tapioca Weasel, Andy Vandergraff. Yeah, I'm hoping that he will come on with my show soon. I have reached out and yeah, so
I
got some
know,
things
he's
I'm
so
hoping to line
fun,
up.
but so hard to book.
Yeah, well, I guess you have to like email him at 2 in the morning or something when he's actually awake. So he's on the bat schedule,
I
I
don't
think.
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
The
So it's
I
good to
could
see
tangent
everybody in
for
the
days,
chat.
but yes, hello
Yep.
everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us. I do have a note about what you may be seeing on screen. We're testing a brand new feature YouTube just rolled out, and it's still only available to some channels. We happen, because I've opted into the beta test thing, I get to try out the new toys. We're doing a split stream with a single unified chat. So depending on what kind of device you're watching on, you may be seeing a different perspective. And we still have to work out some of the details on how that works. As I understand it, YouTube gets the traditional horizontal setup, and then YouTube splits it by taking a crop out of the center, which means anybody watching on vertical is probably seeing the very middle of the screen and not much else. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some adjustment, but we're testing the feature to see if, in fact, there is a single unified chat, which has been one of the big gaps in the dual streaming thing that we've been seeing lately.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
let us know if you're watching on vertical and how
Yeah,
it
make
how
sure
it
that's
looks.
right. That's right. Hey, Ms. Non
But
Sequitur.
yeah,
Listen, I was going to join the chat, but I forgot before we started to connect this to my YouTube account. So, and I didn't want to do that during the break because that kicks me out. So anyway, so I mean, I'm not going to be able to chat unless I switch over. So just letting you know. Also, another technical
that's
thing
okay.
right before we start is that I'm on really good Wi-Fi, but if my Wi-Fi is not good and I start looking fuzzy or something, let me know and I'll go plug into the hard wire. No, sorry. No. So just so you know.
I mean, so far you're fine. So hooray.
Yay.
Okay, so today I've got a million thoughts going on at once. Today's subject is dissociative identity disorder, and we laid out some building blocks on yesterday's show. But before we get into today's topic, for anybody who didn't watch yesterday's show or whatever the case may be, we wanted to go over some of the important bits and pieces from yesterday. So did you want to start with that?
Yeah, I can you hear that beep? No. Okay, good.
I can't, but my ears are kind of screwed up. So
no. There's just an alarm that went off. Okay, so you talked about IFS, internal family systems, yesterday, and I learned a lot I did not know. And I went back and looked at a few other things. It's funny because some of the things that you said, like it's pseudoscience, and because it's not based on rigorous scientific research and all of that. And I got a little triggered. I was like, but I found it so helpful. And so I've been thinking that through, and I talked through it a little bit with a friend who is a psychologist, just to get his perspective on it, And I think in so many ways, you are right. Like the I don't know, the TikTok version, right? And the YouTube, like people can definitely misuse the ideas in these there's different parts, to how like if you just say, oh, I'm an idiot, you're kind of separating yourself into a part, right? Like you're like, because we all kind of do this. So, but what we're going to talk about today is almost like the extreme part of that spectrum. So, and I think the lack of the scientific rigor on doing IFS, the danger is someone who is basically ego fragile, right? They don't have a real strong sense of their own identity however it may be, like with CPTSD or PTSD or anything, that talking about these parts and the way that Richard Schwartz really kind of went into these are actually different people or different separate identity kind of things that could send you off into issues with BPD. What's BPD? Not bipolar, the other one.
Borderline personality disorder.
Borderline. Yes,
It's
right.
another one that there's a lot of self-diagnosis thanks to TikTok misinformation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's an iffy one for sure. I mean, like that's anyway, we can talk about that another day, right? But or going into certain types of paranoia, or if someone is like pre-schizophrenic, like they haven't really had full-blown, or any type of psychosis or something, like talking about these different parts can be dangerous, really, and splitting somebody and getting them maybe even into DID, which we'll talk about today. So I see the cautionary tale with all of that, but using it as one modality, one way of talking about, I'm having a really strong reaction to something, and I just yelled at my daughter, right? So that's not the kind of person I want to be. So what just happened there? And kind of like being able to go, that was some type of firefighter response, right? Just to like stop whatever was happening at the moment. Why do I have such a strong need to do that? And then being able to kind of like look at yourself and say, something she did or said triggered me. And since I don't think most of the brain doesn't have a sense of time, right? That all of a sudden, when my daughter said something, I became a 3-year-old and was defending myself against my mom or my brother or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I mean, that's just kind of a long way to say that there are these hurt parts of us that we don't always understand. And a lot of times because it's pre-verbal pain, right? We don't really have, as an infant or a child, even who doesn't have the language to talk about what actually hurts them, then sweetie pie, you can't go outside right now. You've got to lie down. Come here. My dog is barking. Come lie down.
Canine
Go
co-host
lie down.
always
There's
have
no
strong
way.
opinions.
I know. Yeah, I'll have to bring him up here. But anyway, so the point is that I have worked with a therapist on some of the IFS, but not full blown, not only that. But yeah, but just being able to recognize a part of myself might be fighting with another part of myself, or I have conflicting thoughts about something, being able to, in a way, kind of personify that as not actually, but as what's it called? Like as a tool, just to say, hey, you really helped me when I was a kid. But this is not the situation you need to show up. So I recognize, and you might be needed later in case I need protection in some type of situation from somebody that's going to harm me. But right now you need to sit down and maybe go sit in the car, and I'll talk to you later. Right. And then that reaction doesn't have to take over whatever interaction I happen to be having with the person at the time.
Right.
So anyway,
all
so
these different things, they have utility. They can help us understand what we're feeling and apply names to it to give us the concepts to work with things. I tried to stress yesterday that just because something is pseudoscience doesn't mean the ideas have no value, because it still gives us the concepts we can use to work with. We just have to understand that it's not the same as, like, say, paranoid schizophrenia, which is like a defined thing with a certain treatment,
Right. Or just even cognitive behavioral therapy that has a lot of scientific basis and research supporting, and it's helpful only to a point. It's only helpful with certain things. And so that's why, people use different things. But yeah, but it can be something like if you start talking about, like, even to the point of naming, this is my mean mom, my me mom that I have of myself, right? And I name that part, like that's not necessarily the best. You know what I'm saying? Like you could get to where you could lose touch with with
Yeah,
reality
there's,
and
a othering within your own
mhm,
mind. It can get
mhm,
really
mhm.
weird, and that's one of
Yeah.
the things we have to be careful about when it comes
Mhm.
to pop psychology, is it's one of the few fields where the way we understand a thing can change the thing itself. The way we think about our own thinking
Mhm.
can change the way we think about everything else, as well as
Right.
our own thinking.
Right,
So if we
exactly.
start to label bits and pieces of our mind and separate them out, then they start to become separate.
Right.
And that can lead to certain kinds of difficulties.
Right.
One example being DID. Now, that's
Mhm.
not, to be clear, DID doesn't happen because people think of themselves in a certain way.
Right.
It's specifically a trauma response. But the way
Exactly.
we understand the trauma response is informed by these other ideas. It's building on things that came before.
Right.
And it's it's not necessarily dangerous because it gives people a tool to understand what's going on with their own minds, but
Mhm.
there's more to it with DID. It isn't
Mhm.
just IFS taken to the next level, although that's a
Right,
part of
right.
how people come to understand themselves.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's sort of an umbrella thing, really. It's one of those buckets that science brings out every so often to throw all the assorted extras into.
Mhm.
And because what used to be called multiple personality disorder got tossed in that bucket, a lot of
Mhm.
people conflate the two things. They're saying, "Oh, DID just is multiple personality disorder," but
Right.
that's not right either.
Right.
There's a lot more to it.
Right. 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 The goal of the IFS work is to integrate those parts, right? Or the goal for the work that I've done with it. I don't know if that because I haven't read all of Richard Swartz's stuff yet. But
Mm.
anyway, but that, like to actually be able to talk about it and recognize, oh, I have conflicting points. I really want to do this, but I'm also really nervous. And so I'm fighting with myself about it. And I'm not getting started on anything because this is something and so I'm conflicted because it's something I really want to do, but also I'm really, really scared. And so therefore I'm just in a limbo, right? So being able to say, hey, okay, I understand this, and being able to integrate those different reactions to the same situation is what's helpful about it. But it may not even be as helpful as something like ACT, which I can't remember right now what that stands for. But anyway, but there's other modes too.
Yeah,
All right, so
not familiar with that one.
that's my little I started us off on a tangent. Woohoo!
Tangent! Hooray!
Love the
It's
tangent.
it's it's what we do here. People come here for the tangents. I do have
Yeah.
one other note to make. Models, like we said yesterday, are useful for understanding things, but we have to be careful not to confuse the map for the place, not to do the reification fallacy. The
Mhm.
way we model something, the way we understand something, that's just one possible way. That's one lens to look through. It doesn't mean it is the correct way, that there is an objectively correct way. A lot of things can really, really benefit from being looked at from very different perspectives. For example, flat Earth, we know is incorrect.
Right.
Objectively, it is false, but using it as a model to try to look at reality can reveal some interesting things. Some of the sciences we have developed came out of the attempt to show flat Earth is not true. And that's
Right.
a very low tier pseudoscience.
Right.
So I don't, I should have pre-planned how I wanted to phrase that, but I didn't know it would come up in advance, which is one of the drawbacks of doing a live show.
We're learning
Just because
together.
something is wrong doesn't mean it doesn't have any use,
Right. Right.
I suppose. Trying to say this is correct, this is what science has decided is the consensus, therefore we should only look at it this way. You won't be wrong, but you could be more well-informed by having alternate perspective.
Yeah.
I'm trying to phrase it in a way that doesn't come out as saying pseudoscience is as good as science, because that's not what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, the therapist guy that I was talking to, he's like, well, there's a whole lot of psychology that's pseudoscience. I mean, right? The people use different modalities that aren't necessarily, rigorously supported by scientific research, but
Mm,
some things can be helpful. So you just have to be,
right.
really good
Like
at what you
Forrest
do.
Belkai often says, every model is wrong, but some of them are useful.
There you go. That's what we like.
Yeah.
He's so wise. Yep. Yep.
I know. Oh, he's I could wax on Forrest for a while. Just
I know.
he's,
It's
he's such a
amazing.
delightful fucking being. It just I don't know. I'm
He's the kind of
envious of
teacher
how
I
much
really
stuff he
wanted to
holds in his head.
be when I was teaching science. Although it's very, very difficult for public school teachers to be like him, just because I mean I was already working 70 hours a week just trying to keep up with everything, and trying to make things interesting and answer all the emails. Anyway, we won't go into that. We'll go into that. There's a reason why people don't stay in public school, so it's tough.
It's true. It's
Not for
true.
sissies. That's all I'm saying.
My goodness. All right. So I'll bring up the thing so that our poor victimized people on the vertical stream have something to look at. So this is again, this is a test run. It's a trial of the new technology that YouTube has turned on. So we'll see how it goes and evaluate from there. But because as I understand it, the vertical stream is seeing a cutout of the middle. This way, there's a thing at least. It's going to take some work. It's a
Now I
trial.
want to go look up the vertical stream and see what it looks like.
Another neat thing, not only is there supposed to be a single unified chat, but there's also a single link. And this is one of the reasons they did this, is they made it so that it can determine which kind of device you're watching on. So if you use the same link on a computer, you'll get the horizontal stream. If you do it on a phone, you'll get the vertical.
Mm-hmm.
So it basically, it's the same stream. It just changes the view effectively.
I did not know that,
You don't
'cause then
end
they
up with
start off
two
with like
different.
separate streams. Okay. Is this
Yeah.
StreamYard or YouTube that's doing this?
The split thing is happening on YouTube. That's why it's
Okay.
able to do a single chat and a single link, and we won't end up with two different stream recordings after the fact.
Yeah, I gotcha.
It's pretty
That makes
neat, but the
better
flip
sense,
side
yeah.
is we have to try to do both things in a single setup. Whereas if
I
we were
gotcha.
doing the split through StreamYard, we'd have two separate chats who couldn't talk to each other. We'd have two
Right.
separate file recordings after the fact.
Well, I mean,
And
when YouTube first started this, it was that way. There was two
well, it's
separate
because
chats.
YouTube wasn't doing it.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, I'm getting it now. Learning.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
learning. I'm learning
Yeah.
together.
That's what we do. It's a bonus topic. And speaking of bonuses, we got a super chat from Left-Handed Jedi. See, this is another downside of the setup is people on vertical are only seeing the very, very edge of the super chat. But again, testing, we're trying to work out the bugs and see how well it works. I don't know if we'll use it in the future, but for science, So Left-Handed Jedi sent us a super chat for $2. Thank you, Jedi. And Jedi says, I read that as misconceptions. The thing on the screen, I presume. Because
Gotcha.
it's an article titled DID Myths, Dispelling Common Misconceptions About Dissociative Identity Disorder. And then the heading right before the text starts says DID Myths and Misconceptions. So it kind of got tangled together there, which is pretty neat. Now, how much do you know about DID before we start digging into stuff?
It's dissociative identity disorder. And as you mentioned before, is related to what used to be labeled as multiple personality disorder. I'm old enough to have watched the movie Sybil. And some people don't know what that is, but anyway, it's about someone who apparently had this. So, but that's about it. And I know that they're not exactly the same, right? But anyway, but also, we all dissociating actually is normal for humans. Like
Mhm.
we do that in minor ways as ways to kind of protect ourselves from a lot of pain anyway. Like, if you're listening to a podcast while you're running because running is uncomfortable for you, or yeah, or work doing video games just to kind of zone out or watch TV. I mean, like there's different ways that we actually dissociate. So like dissociation is not necessarily a bad thing. However, this is dissociative identity disorder. And so that means something more extreme, actually separating out what we a little bit talked about, these different parts. But I don't know a ton, and I don't know how it might be different from like say schizophrenia, in that you hear voices that you think are not your own, or yeah. So
Okay.
please let's learn. Let's do
Sure.
this.
That's a good starting point. So first of all, a lot of people are going to confuse it with schizophrenia. Schizophrenia isn't necessarily inclusive of other personalities, other personas, other identities within the same mind.
Mhm.
It often, typically, in fact, is just hallucinations. It's just well, to say just is diminishing. That's not
Yeah.
strictly correct, but there's an overactive pareidolia function in that the brain will hear the white noise of the world around us, and everybody draws patterns out of it. Like you'll be lying in bed in a dark room at night trying to go to sleep, and you'll hear a ghostly voice whisper your name. It's just your hearing doing what it does and trying to pick patterns out of the noise around you. And
Mm.
we're evolutionarily predisposed to find patterns where there aren't, because that's a survival advantage over not finding patterns where there are.
Right.
So it's an oof. In a person with schizophrenia, among other things, that sense, that predisposition tends to be a little overclocked, and so there's the perception of hearing voices, sometimes even seeing visions. It's complicated, and it's not my specialty, but it doesn't necessarily include distinct personalities.
Right.
Those can develop, but there's often other things going on, like dissociative identity disorder, but that's not the same thing either. So we should explain what the words actually mean, because people tend to get overwhelmed by things, and a lot of words mean multiple things depending on what you're talking about. In this case, dissociative, meaning like a disassociation in any other context, is the you that you understand to be yourself is not present. You take yourself to a safe place, or your mind wanders off, or however you conceptualize it. You've turned off your primary part of your mind. You've removed it from a situation so that another aspect of your personality can handle it, even if it's just a fugue state. It's a blank slate that's just occupying the space until it's safe for yourself, your core identity, to come back. With the identity part, that refers to the being. That's a law of logic kind of identity. That's what
Mhm.
the thing is, the ontology of it, and also what it isn't. In a dissociative sense, that means your core self, the you that you understand to be you,
Mhm.
is an identity. But you can also have other identities for those dissociative episodes, and it becomes a disorder, not necessarily because of atypical neurological function. In psychology, a disorder is something that causes you trouble in your day-to-day life. It makes
Mhm.
life hard. It doesn't even have to be something wrong per se. It's just something that makes life more difficult because of the circumstances of your condition. So a dissociative identity disorder means your main identity is disassociating. Sometimes alternate identities may present as placeholders, but you're
Mhm.
disassociating in a way that is causing difficulty for your regular everyday life.
Are you able to answer this question? Do you think that the the process of disassociation is in any way similar to masking in for autistic folks, or or just anybody, like just go into a party, they act differently than they do at home or something, like, I don't know if you're able to answer that, but it's just a thought I had about it.
Yeah, again, it's not my field, but
Yeah.
I do have some experience with masking. I
Same.
mean, I'm on the spectrum and a trans person. I have a lot of experience with masking.
Right.
Um,
Oh, Deviant Outcast says, no, it's very different. Okay. Alrighty. So I won't go on that. Right. My dog is barking, so sorry if he comes through.
Angry Puffo. Yeah, on the surface, there can seem to be some similarities, but the main distinction between them is that when you're masking, you're still you. It's the same persona, it's the same identity. You're
Yeah.
just putting a mask over it, I suppose. It's
Right.
almost acting. It's just
Right.
different. I don't know. It'd be a long conversation in and of itself.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Oh goodness. All right. One moment, please, because my heater is being overactive again. So before we get started, I'm going to remind everyone to hydrate. Hey folks, I've been working hard on my health, and so far I've lost over 140 pounds. A huge part of good health is hydration. That's why I'm thrilled to partner with Epic Water Filters. Check this out. Not only can you say goodbye to expensive bottled water, but these filters are made in the US, so no tariffs, and they're made to fit your life. From these lovely pitchers I can fill from, to sink units, to portable filters that fit in your reusable bottle. With Epic, I can refill from nature's water sources and not have to worry about bacteria and whatnot. But also, send back a used filter to be responsibly recycled, and they'll send you a free replacement, saving you and the earth even more. Want to save a ton of money, be healthier, and build a better world? Head to epicwaterfilters.com and enter code EMBER15 at checkout for 15% off. Don't settle for random water. Upgrade to Epic. And that's good advice for everyone. Hydration is important. Although, I do have my actual water with me right here at my desk, but I also go through a lot of coffee, especially in the mornings. Oh my goodness. Who thought morning shows were a good idea? Thank you all so much for joining us, though. It's
Do you
morning.
Do you filter your water that you make your coffee with?
I do, yes.
Yeah, I hear it. It's better. It tastes better, supposedly.
Yeah. And okay, so the coffee itself does a little bit of filtering. It can get some macromolecules and whatnot, but smaller stuff like particles from the pipes and whatnot, depending on how your city's set up. Sometimes it's plastic pipes, sometimes it's iron pipes, sometimes it's both. Cities are weird, but yeah, filtering it definitely improves the flavor, and that is kind of important too. So yeah.
Gotcha.
I know, random, but it wouldn't be an Ember show if we didn't talk about something food related, even if it's a beverage. Oh goodness.
Okay, so Aunt Jer's saying that she doesn't that anyone is seeing the vertical format.
Okay, multiple people using phones, including herself, are not seeing, are only seeing the horizontal stream, and I don't know. Well, see, there should only be a single stream, and it's supposed. Again, it's a test.
Yeah.
YouTube may not have the technology set up yet. That's why it's in the beta test category of things. But for all intents and purposes, I think we're probably safe to just go with a normal setup for today. And anybody who sees things differently can just let us know.
There you go.
Oh goodness. All right, so I can make this wider.
We can read
Wow,
it
look
better.
at that. Yeah. So we can all play along or something. Oh, and we'll see how it goes. What could possibly go wrong for science and things? All right, so the article begins. This is from beautyafterbruises.org, by the way, which, as you might guess, has a lot to do with recovery from trauma type stuff. And DID does have quite a bit to do with traumas. Okay, so it begins. Dissociative identity disorder is by far Oh, I should do my reading voice. Dissociative identity disorder is by far one of the least understood mental illnesses out there. Now, I do want to draw a note right there. Mental illness is often a misused term. A thing being a disorder is not the same as a thing being a mental illness, right? Like we said earlier, a disorder means it's interfering with your everyday life, not necessarily that there's something wrong. A mental illness is there's something wrong that you need to fix, you need help with. Anorexia, for example, is a mental illness because you need treatment or it will severely impact your life in very negative ways.
Yeah.
For instance, it is enshrouded in misinformation, outdated coursework for students and practicing clinicians alike, and a seemingly unending barrage of defamation attempts. And that's another thing we see from both sides. We see people who are saying, oh, DID is made up bullshit, or DID people are just horrible, or gatekeepers on the other direction who are like, I am the guardian of all things DID, and you must meet my approval or you're not really a system, you know? And oh, that's a term, by the way, that it's a vocabulary for today's assignment, I suppose. System is an identifier for a person who has DID and is trying to work with it to have a life. You know, because it's so different from internal family system in that there are distinct sub-personae, and it gets really, really complicated. Just a little bit of a preview of some of the stuff I'm hoping we get to, but may or may not be covered in this stuff because we are learning together here. There's fictives and alters. And some people have fictives, but not alters. Some people have alters, but not fictives. Some people say a fictive is a kind of alter. It gets really, really complicated because, as the article said, there's a lot of misunderstanding, outdated information, all sorts of stuff like that. In very, very general terms, a fictive could be considered to be an alter. An alter could be considered to be an alternate personality, and a fictive being a fictional one, either an original creation or based, most common in what I've been able to turn up anyway, based on fictional characters that the person, the native intelligence, if you will, identifies with in some way. For example, there are some very, very common characters from a anime called Danganronpa. I think the character's name is Hashime. I'm so far out of my depth on this. I'm just going by what I have picked up from people who do have DID. If the character has a quality they need, you might say firefighter, to use IFS terminology, in order to protect themselves from whatever the stimulus is, then there's sometimes a tendency to just incorporate that character as a functioning alter, a alternative personality or a placeholder persona to deal with the problem. Some of this language might be somewhat familiar to anybody who's looked into what we used to call multiple personality disorder, in that you will often have expansions of the archetypes we saw in IFS into not just parts, but distinct persona, like the nurturing mother could become like a whole persona rather than just an internal mental function, or the upset child, the internal critic. Every part could become an alter under certain circumstances, and that's what DID is a reaction to those circumstances. But it isn't always an existing internal part. Sometimes it's a distinct identity brought in or created, as it were. And those can be alters as well. Fictives are based on, fictional characters. For example, it's an absurd example, but there's probably someone who has it. A person who needs a strong, invulnerable defender of justice might incorporate Superman. And you might have a canonically dependent Superman, one who depends on the canon of the Superman comics, Or you might have a canon independent one, which is the person's own version of Superman that can differ from the canon. Like, and it gets very complicated because you'll have some people who just have Superman as a supporting character to help them feel like they can withstand the barrage of metaphorical bullets that come in them in their everyday life because Superman's bulletproof.
Yeah.
You'll have other people who, due to an extreme trauma reaction, will switch into a state where they act as if they believe they literally are Superman. And to take that specific example, there have been a couple people who've jumped off of buildings thinking they can fly because of that extreme reaction. It's important to note it's a trauma response, not insanity in the way you'd normally think of it.
It's awful.
Mhm.
I need to pause you real quick. I'm gonna turn off my camera for a second. I have to take my dog out, so I'm gonna take you with me, and I'm listening and I can respond but I've got it.
Okay. We're going for
Sorry,
a trip.
I'm still learning though, so here we go.
Adventures and things. Okay. Oh shoot, I lost my place. Where the hell was I? Right, defamation attempts. So the latter sounds ridiculous, but probably shouldn't come as too much of a surprise once you consider that DID is caused by long-term recurrent trauma in childhood, most often abuse. And when you abuse a child, it's wrong to abuse everybody because it does harm, it does damage, it leaves lifelong psychological scars. But when you do it to a child whose sense of identity is still forming, if it occurs at just the right point in the developmental stage, then their sense of identity itself can fracture. And that isn't always healable. It's a big fucking oof. So there is ample motivation for entire organizations to want to squash even its credibility or deny its existence, particularly when some of the founders of such organizations were accused of child sexual misconduct themselves.
What?
Yeah, there's a bunch of organizations who oppose the legitimacy of DID because they themselves have done horrible things to children. The Catholic Church, for example. There's other churches too. A lot of the evangelical firebrand churches will come at it saying it's not a psychological disorder, it's demons, and you should do an extra baptism about it, or what do they call it? Deliverance. You know?
I thought when you read
doctor.
this at first, I thought you were talking about psychological organizations.
I mean, there's probably some of those too. There have been a lot of psychologists who've been ousted for getting caught doing very bad things with children. One example that probably springs to everyone's mind is John Money.
That doesn't spring to my mind because I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay. I don't want to tangent just too much. Among the other things he's notorious for, he had children engage in sex acts to study how the sexual abuse developed how the abuse changed their psychological development.
Oh, Lord, have mercy on my soul. And
Yeah.
I'm not even a Christian. Okay.
For real. He's more well known for being a sexologist who worked with the Reimer twins on his hypothesis of gender identity. He believed it was entirely external. It was entirely nurture rather than nature. And one of the twins, they were both born male, and the parents had them circumcised, infant genital mutilation, as one does in these Western countries for some god-awful reason, but whatever. They were doing the circumcision. For some reason, they were using chemicals to do the circumcisions, and one of the twins' penis was entirely destroyed by the chemical.
Oh, do we have to talk about this?
No, we don't have to. It is a tangent.
It's awful.
That's why a lot of people know the name, because he suggested to test his hypothesis of where gender comes from. he suggested that they raise that child as a girl because the child would never know the difference. If everyone around you tells you you're a girl, you must be a girl, right?
That's awful.
And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how there is a lot of pseudoscience in psychology. That's not to diminish the good science that's coming out of the field, but there are things like that where somebody will be like, I have an idea. Let's ruin a child's entire fucking life to test my idea, you know? It gets really, really dark. So getting back to the topic, but that is no excuse. In fact, it's a massive reason why we exist at all, the organization, Beauty After Bruises, and why we're so passionate about getting solid, credible information out there to everyone. There will be no shortage of information here on why DID is not, coupled with clarifications on what is, but let's at least provide a brief summary for those of you unfamiliar so that you can better follow along. DID is a dissociative trauma disorder in which the survivor has undergone long-term repeated trauma in early childhood. This trauma, combined with other factors, results in a rather dramatic interruption of psychological development. And that's a key thing. Like, there's a lot of people who, there's another phenomenon, there's probably a term for it, but I'm not familiar with it, where people see people dealing with a certain condition. As they start to understand it, they say, oh, that sounds a lot like what I'm dealing with. Maybe I have that thing too. And then they just decide they have that thing. And it's a problem insofar as it can undermine legitimate science. It can take attention away from people who actually are suffering from that thing. It can be very destructive, but that's a separate thing.
Sometimes medical students have a minor issue with that, and they know that it's happening to them, but they still do it because when they learn about a new disease, they think they might have it.
Yeah, it's almost like everybody's susceptible to some level of hypochondria, like the WebMD effect. Like if you're reading on pancreatic cancer and you're like, high blood pressure, have to urinate in the middle of the night, whatever, you're like, oh my God, I have those things. Maybe I have pancreatic cancer. You know, the WebMD effect. A lot of people have that to some extent. Some people get a little bit more hypochondriac and they're like, oh, I really have that thing, even if they haven't been checked out. In the case of DID, as with a few other things running around the internet, like we've mentioned before, BPD is another big one. It is a real thing. It is a real disorder that people often need treatment with in order to live a normal life. But there's a lot of people self-diagnosing and then using it as an excuse to be a shitty person. And that's not helpful to anyone, you know? So DID is a disruption of psychological development. That's how that happens. It can't just occur to you later in life, sort of deal. So this particularly pertains to identity. It's not just any old psychological disruption. Through a process known as dissociation, this thwarted development results in differentiated self states, also known as alters or parts, if you're coming at it from the IFS side, who may each think, act, and feel considerably different from one another. Now, this is another really, really, really important note. Tomorrow, there's a pre-recorded video dropping on how to support survivors of abuse, domestic violence, and other extreme physical traumas. One of the things to keep in mind that will be covered in that video is that people may feel differently about the same thing from day to day, particularly in the case of a domestic abuse survivor, rape survivor, so on and so forth. Physical touch can be a big one. A person can be fine with hugs one day and then be very ishy about any touch at all the next day. How you feel about things can change, often does, as you're working through trauma, as you're trying to live under the damage the trauma has done and heal what you can. This is true for every other trauma. In the case of DID, a person could think, act, and even feel considerably differently from day to day. In the same way, a violence survivor might feel different about physical touch. They might feel differently about any number of other things. And it's very, very important to keep in mind that that is a trauma response. It's part of the trauma response. It's not the person is just being arbitrary or whimsical or deliberately trying to be difficult or to fuck with you or whatever it is you may think. It's part of the disorder. That's why it's a disorder, because it makes life hard for them.
Right.
These parts of mind, who may have their own name, their own age, their own personality, sometimes even their own gender. But that's, not what we're talking about today. They're able to take executive control of the body. That's another important note. Executive control means the primary personality in control, the primary persona in control, the one making decisions. And we see a lot of overlap with other things. This is, it's one of those instances where the way we're looking at the thing shifts what we're seeing. The lens we're using changes the picture, not just the perspective. When we're looking at other disorders like bipolar, for example, then we see similar phenomena where there's a part of the psyche that has near total executive dysfunction. It's in such a suppressed and depleted state that sometimes it's impossible to get up off the bathroom floor. And then on the other end of the extreme spectrum, you've got the manic persona, which doesn't seem to have any inhibitions at all, to the point of literally terrifying the awareness that's trapped inside, while this extreme version has all the executive decision-making power.
Yeah.
That's why it's a disorder, because it makes life hard for the person dealing with it, potentially dangerous, because both ends can be lethal. Bree says Ember is in here calling me out now. No, actually, I'm describing my own experience. I had to deal with bipolar when I was younger. And those are the ends I experienced. And it's a thing that you never actually get over. You just get better at handling.
Right. Recognizing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's another thing to keep in mind is a lot of disorders, so many of them, you don't ever get over. You get better at managing, which brings us back to IFS. It's a management to protect the self sort of thing. But when you're provoked, when you're triggered, to borrow pop psychology language, it becomes much more difficult to manage. Certain things can provoke certain responses. And that, even though people will call them bullies, for lack of a better term, bullies aren't consciously aware they're doing it. It is what they're doing, is they're looking for triggers to set off your defense conditions to hurt you. They're trying to hurt you psychologically, potentially putting you into a spiral state that can be lethal. That's why bullying is classified as violence. Bit of a tangent, but kind of relevant because it all ties together. The executive control of the body is a critical element to a whole bunch of disorders, and how we look at them changes how we interact with them. If we apply the same perspective we use for bipolar to DID, then instead of seeing individual persona, we might be seeing a different kind of spectrum with different extremes.
Yeah.
But it's harder to model that way because you can have more than two extreme ends. So it isn't really a spectrum, it's something else,
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that the other parts, they can take executive control of the body, leaving the survivor without any awareness for the time they were gone. That is and isn't true. It's not always the case that when an alter is in charge, when a part is in charge, that the primary awareness has lost time. That can happen, but
That's
doesn't
not common.
always.
It's not as common as than not losing time, I think.
I don't know which way is more common than others. I can say that of the people that I know personally with DID, and I realize anecdotes, right? But it's also an exemplification. It's showing an example of the thing being discussed. The people I know with DID who have identified themselves to me as systems, none of them report this lost time effect. So it's not universal at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah.
These amnesic gaps in memory can be for just a few moments, for a few days, or even entire chunks of one's childhood. Now, this can be describing another effect. Because of the dissociative element often occurs in direct response to trauma, right? When you're being abused, when you are actively in, like the person is doing things to you, it's very common to disassociate. And if that happens a lot, if that happens frequently, you're not home, no one there. Even if you don't create an alter or a part or a fictive to take your place and handle the situation, you're left in a fugue state. And in that situation, your mind has to have the ability to at least have the potential for executive function, which means it will create a fugue persona, which will eventually develop into an alter if it continues to persist.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what a persistent fugue state is an alternative identity. A long-term amnesiac has a similar thing, you know?
Right.
It's basic survival. You have to have the ability to have executive function. Like we were discussing yesterday, you have to have a consciousness to negotiate the overlap, the interplay between your biological needs as well as your desires and society, the expectations around you.
Right.
Without an ego, without an executive function, you can't operate, you know?
Right. I mean, and the way you're describing all of this, it kind of points back to like talking about the function, right, of dissociating, that it is actually a normal kind of thing. It's just like how extreme and for what reasons and in what, like in reaction to what kind of situations over how long of a period of time that is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's worth noting that's not always how people end up adapting,
Right. It's not
reacting,
the only
responding.
reaction to trauma. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
like I don't know how to phrase this.
Becoming
You
a
know what? There's a
bully is
lot to
one
cover.
reaction to trauma.
I mean, some
Become
people can become very reactive to certain things. I'm looking at like multiple different things. There's a lot going on right now behind the scenes.
okay.
But yeah, it's I can produce a show, I can keep half an eye on the chat, I can read the content, I can talk to I can do a lot of things at once, but I do have limits where certain additional other stimuli on top reduce my performance somewhat.
Absolutely. No, I gotcha. Yeah, I
Yeah.
only have a 3-track mind. If you try to put a 4th track in there, can't do it.
It's I mean, you know, with practice all things are possible, but how often does that
All
happen, you know?
things, yeah.
It's a new on an actual tangent related to mental function. Have you noticed that brains sometimes are capable of running certain operations in the background? Like if you're presented with a low stakes problem that you don't have to solve right now, and you're like, you know what, I've got other shit to do. I'll just ruminate. I'll come back to this later.
Yeah.
And then hours or days later, you'll be working on something else, and all of a sudden, a solution just pops out of the back of your brain like toast from a toaster. It just bloop,
Yep.
there it is, because your
Yep.
brain's been thinking about it this whole time in the back rooms or something.
Yeah. There's a I can't think of her name right now, but a woman who wrote the book Learning How to Learn, and she talks about it as like diffuse focus, and you know, the other one is like specific focus or something like that. But like a lot of times when you're working on something, the best thing to do is just to go for a run or take a shower, you know, and let the diffuse part of your brain make some of those connections. It's not necessarily verbal either, right? That it's kind of working on stuff. But yeah. It's actually very helpful in the learning process to be able to do that. So
Yeah. It's brains are fascinating. I suppose this is why it's AJ's obsession.
it is. I
Because
know.
the
I was just
things
gonna
brains
say
can
that's
do.
why AJ says I love brains.
Yeah. AJ says, I thought I was a hypochondriac until I was actually diagnosed with a gazillion conditions. Okay, so that's
There's that
another
too.
thing, right? Like there's a lot of things where if you start to develop too large a pile of things, you start to be like, even I'm having trouble accepting this, and this is my life. There's no fucking way I can ever tell other people about all of this. They will think I'm a hypochondriac, you know?
Right.
It's a fucking oof.
Yeah.
Aunt Jur says disassociate is the psychological term for what you're discussing. Disassociate is the term for what cults do when they shun you. They disassociate from you.
So dissociate and
Dissociate.
dissociate and
Okay.
disassociate. Yeah.
I
And
see.
I've have yeah. I usually pronounce it as disassociate, but correct.
Have I
It's
been
dissociative.
dissociative? Yeah, I've been misstating. See,
Yeah.
we all learn new things. It is dissociative, not disassociative. God damn it, Ember. That's entirely that's my brain being lazy. I saw the word, I saw the letters, and I just thought that was the word. If I'd read the word carefully, I would have seen that's not the case. But also, it isn't just reading, it's the way other people talk about it, right? Like we often get words from hearing other people say those words.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people running around saying the wrong word, which can lead to the wrong ideas about what the thing is, because what the thing is what the words mean, you know?
Yeah. I was saying it that way too. So, right. It's like my brain filled in blanks, right? So, yeah.
Mhm.
It just
Yeah.
happens.
So hey, we learned another new thing by surprise. And AJ coming out as a zombie. Brains. I could totally see AJ as a mad scientist in a lab, just like holding a brain and gleefully staring at it with jars and jars of body parts.
Oh, that's in Young
formaldehyde.
Frankenstein when he picked out a brain for Frankenstein.
Yeah.
The jars of brains. It's Abby. Abby normal. That's whose brain it was.
Who labels a brain? You know what? We're so far
Okay,
off.
sorry. All right, keep going.
That never happens here. The alters in a DID mind exist to help the survivor cope with deeply painful and unconscionable trauma. Unconscionable in this sense meaning literally unthinkable. You cannot think about it. You cannot hold it in your mind. It's not just painful. You can't do it. That level of trauma.
Right.
Holding it outside their awareness to the best of their ability. However, often, once the survivor begins to find safety and or enter adulthood, this once supremely creative and protective mechanism can turn into a maladaptive trait, causing real-life consequences. Additionally, all of these experiences can be, and often are, happening alongside the symptoms of PTSD, which is a separate thing, but there's post-traumatic stress disorder is another bucket. There's real things in the bucket, but psychologists often like to throw unrelated things all in the same bucket just so they have a diagnostic term to categorize it under.
Yeah.
So, for example, they list flashbacks, nightmares, hypervigilance, insomnia, anxiety, and I mean anxiety in the psychophysiological sense, not the I'm nervous or I'm worried and I can't stop worrying. Those can be disorders in their own right, but anxiety in this context is physiological effects like constant vomiting, for instance, You know, it's
Yeah.
an oof. It's more
Okay,
than an oof.
I'm sorry, I have to go on this tangent. Pull up Bree's comment about the transposed letter.
Okay, Bree
It's
says
a
that
great
was a great
example.
example of transposed letter effect, sometimes called typoglycemia. If that's real, whoever named that is brilliant. If it's not, then
It's
Bree
still
is brilliant
brilliant.
for that joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just reminds me of when, like, sometimes when I'm reading music and it's a lot of notes that I have to play really fast, or it's notes that are all the same note over and over and over again. My brain mushes them together and I'm like, nope, and skips over because, like, either it's boring because it's the same note over and over again, or it's a lot of notes and it's like, I don't feel like playing that. Sorry. My brain just jumps over. So it's actually missing a letter, missing notes instead of adding them like we did. But anyway, that's my little tangent about that. Okay.
Hell
Sorry.
yeah. It's all good. It's all good. We're learning together. That's the point of the show. This isn't just like a college lecture where Ember just reads shit out and occasionally inserts commentary, you know?
Well,
It's
Bree says it's real. She says it's real.
yeah,
Hypoglycemia.
it is real. It is not my word, but I love it. Hell yeah.
And Bree is an expert on what things are real and what things are not real. So I trust Bree.
I mean, that is sort of like her entire thing, yes. If you're not familiar with Bree over at Hive Sci, she does a weekly show live from the Hive every Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, which includes a whole bunch of segments like Cryptic Corner. Jesus Christ, Ember, I cannot speak English
Sometimes
like
it's
ever.
cryptids, though.
But yeah, Cryptids in Cryptic Corner, where she tries to track down like any real cryptids. So far, I don't think in what is it, 5-6 years of programming, still haven't found one, but we keep looking because it's fun. And you never know, there may be a real one around here somewhere. Aunt Jur says, 2 features disqualified me from hypochondria are that when I get medical tests done and a doctor shares the results with me, I accept their findings. I don't tell them they're wrong and demand more tests. Valid. I also don't catch the trending illnesses like bird flu, the latest influenza strain, all of them. The illnesses I get tested for are unique to me: cardiac, back pain, nothing contagious. So that it's really good to clarify those sorts of things. Like, there are disqualifiers if you there's a lot of things in our lives that make us doubt our own sanity. You know, like when I started to deal with anorexia and friends were like, Ember, you're in trouble. You need help with this, like, right the fuck now. And I was like, but what, you know, like,
Yeah.
we don't want to think of ourselves as crazy people. And so we tend to ignore real things because we don't want it to come across a certain way, you know?
Right.
And in a similar vein, my own things are often told to me by others. Like, you know, I'll go in for an appointment for follow-up from my injuries last year, for example, and they'll do a blood test and they'll say, hey, there's this thing going on. And then we'll do a follow-up test based on that, and then I'll get a diagnosis for something that I didn't even suspect. So the fact, to me anyway, the fact that I'm not asking to be checked for a thing, I'm being checked for a thing because doctors found something weird,
Yeah.
tells me that it's not hypochondria, you know?
Right. Right.
But I don't know. It's complicated. It's an oof. Aunt Jer also with the links for tomorrow's Live from the Hive. So you can hit the notify button there too and join us all heckling Bree in the chat. Or, you know, not heckling Bree. You know, whatever the case may be. Oh, yeah. It's a whole thing. All right. Continuing on. There's a lot to cover. I don't think we're going to get through all the material today. I'm just saying it kind of looks that way. Are you down for running a little bit late? Because I don't know if anybody has a show after this that we have to get off the air for. I mean, not that we have to get off the air anyway.
I had one other thing to do today and already did it, so I'm
Well,
good.
hooray.
Yeah. We just see
Okay.
how long people stick with us, right? If they go past the
Yeah.
90-minute mark. I'm sorry, I'm still finishing my snack. That's okay.
It's all
I'm
good.
off
It's all
camera.
good.
At least it's not crackers like Zod. I don't know if you watch Zadanza, but he eats crackers on the stream. Anyway, okay.
Damn it, Zod. Oh goodness. All right. Shoot, where the hell were we? I
don't
lost
know
my
because
place
I can't
marker
read
again.
this.
When
It's so tiny.
Oh, I'll see if I
going.
can make it a little bigger. Now that we have a bigger screen, we can probably do that.
Okay.
I can just keep making it bigger.
Look at
I know, tiny screen. I have a tiny screen myself. It's a whole thing. All right. I completely lost my place, so give me a second here. Yeah, PTSD, flashbacks, as well as symptoms of other co-occurring disorders commonly seen in trauma survivors. Because it's a trauma, it's going to react like other traumas. That's how we categorize things. That's how we determine what things are. But again, how we categorize them is how we understand them, not necessarily what they actually are.
Right.
Every model is wrong, but some of them are useful. So now let's debunk some myths. And yeah, why not? Let's do a couple of myths. I do have another thing that I want to look at, but it's a normal article length. So we'll get to that shortly. All right. So first myth, DID is very rare. No. What do you mean by rare? You know, like, for example, some people say trans people are very rare. No, like we're not the typical, we're not common, but we're not rare, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's a kind of a misleadingly very subjective term. We make up around 2% of the population. Intersex people make up somewhere between 2 and 10% of the population. Wow. We don't actually know because we haven't done the science on the damn thing yet. What we have done the science on is Jester.
Hey, Jester.
A $5 super chat. Thank you, Jester. And Jester says, I believe that DID is only a problem because no one likes to talk about the silent S in many character building activities. I'm not sure what that means. Dids?
Is it the S in SA? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not connecting the dots on that one. You'll have to explain, Jester. Maybe I need more coffee. That often.
I'm sorry, I don't understand it all either, Jester. Even though Jester rules. You do rule.
It's true. It's true. Lord of Shenaniganery, I've been told. Oh, okay. Characters. So characters building yes.
Character or building characters. Okay.
I see.
Okie dokie.
Okay, so
yeah. I think that that had to be delivered like not in written form, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of timing and
it doesn't build character, it builds characters. Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. It's true.
More common.
We're not cool enough to get Jester's reference.
Maybe I'm just a little bit too literal sometimes.
It's a problem that's been known to happen. You know, there may be a relationship there as well. The literalization of things, it comes from it hasn't been demonstrated. It's pure speculative hypothesis, but nerds, because nerds are interested in the literal reality of so many different things that the brain takes new information, new ideas, new stimulus, And the first thing it does is try to figure out which category of understanding it fits in. Is this physics? Is this math? Is this philosophy? How do I understand it through the lens of which category it seems to fit?
Right.
And when your brain works that way, sometimes you miss the less literal things because you try so many boxes in the things that are literal, you know?
Yeah.
Just supposition on my part, though.
Make humor really, really funny because you can make those connections, and then it can make humor just like because you can't figure out what the connection is because you're thinking about it too much. Yeah.
But you know, jokes are always funnier when you explain them.
Absolutely.
Okay, so rare, a yearly prevalence rate of 1.5%. I'm not sure if that's a citation. It looks like it might be a link.
Why
Let me
does
see
it
if
say
that is a citation.
negative?
Oh, that's the tilde. It represents
it's a tilde. Okay.
approximately.
About.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, if it's a link, it doesn't go anywhere. I'm getting oops, page not found. So
Okay.
that's not helpful. But we'll just go with it for the purposes of article. This is not a scientific paper, it's an article. So whatever. Let's say they think it's 1.5%. It's actually more common than young women with bulimia and on par with well-known conditions like OCD. While it is very hard to gather statistics on a community of trauma survivors built on secrecy, who can be afraid to receive such a stigmatizing diagnosis, have had therapists untrained to recognize their condition, are riddled with amnesia, leading many to be unaware anything is even wrong, and whose self-preservation often includes intense denial of trauma, it's still inarguable that DID is anything but rare, and it is a major mental health issue. And that says there's an update, more studies on the prevalence of DID, and it looks like there's more attempts at citations. I'm not going to get into those today because how prevalent it is isn't really relevant to what it is, you know?
Right.
Myth number 2, people with DID are dangerous, villainous killers, or have alters who do extreme harm. Well, this is literally victim blaming. Now, of course, any persona, any alter, any fictive could be as likely to hurt someone as any other random person, but it's not like they're psycho killers. In fact, their existence is because someone else abused them, you know? So,
Yes.
holy fuck.
Yep.
So, contrary to popular belief, survivors with DID are no more dangerous than those with any other mental health condition or the general public. The crime rate, violent use of weapons, domestic disturbances, etc., are no greater than and often less than the general population. We see this with a lot of other things where there's a deliberate attempt to villainize, like the right wing the last couple of years has been really, really trying to make it out like trans people are way more likely to commit violence, when in fact, every statistical study shows that we're way less likely to commit violence, less than should be the case for any portion of the general population. Like if you took the Christians should have the same rate as the general population. Or if you took any given ethnic group, the rate should be about the same as the general population. With trans people, it's ridiculously low. The incidence rate of violence from trans perpetrators should be much, much higher than it is. And the same is true for a lot of people under traumatic, stressful situations, like people with DID.
Well,
Because of the hyper focus, there's a deliberate effort to be less violent than a person who is free would ordinarily be.
Yep. And like those with DID, trans folks are more likely to be victimized rather than perpetrators. So
it's anytime a group gets targeted for special focus, for political reasons, that seems to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. politics. We should discuss political influence as a mental disorder because it definitely interferes with people's regular lives.
You can do that with Lil. You can do that with Lil of all trades. I'm not the politics person that you want to.
That's fair. That's
This
fair.
is not this is not the politics commentator you are searching for.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I can't be an expert at everything. Jeez.
I know the feeling. Oh goodness. Okay. Let's see. I keep losing my damn place. I keep marking it and then losing it anyway. Okay. In fact, due to survivors' prolonged exposure to trauma and violence, it is far more common for those with DID to be re-victimized on the receiving end of violence or abuse than to perpetuate it. And that's another thing that's true of many different kinds of traumatic groups. Like, again, not to make this about me, but just to exemplify something from my own experience to make the concept more relatable to people. When I was attacked last January, I let the first part of the attack happen because of my own tendency to allow certain transgressions because of previous experiences. To be specific about it, I've been in a position where it was either stop the abuser, which would require hurting them, or don't. And in those, it's very difficult to talk about, and I'm talking around most of it because I do not want to tangent into a different topic. There are certain things where I know where my line is, morally speaking. I've been in the position where I've had to choose to hurt a person to defend myself or not. And if my life isn't in danger, because I've been in that position, I know where my line is. I already know I won't cross that line.
Right.
When the attack last January happened, the first part of it stayed on that one side of the line. So, I mean, I didn't like it. It's really gross to talk about things like that way. The point is, when the attacker crossed the line, it changed the scenario. And now I was able to defend myself with violence. And the relatable part is that often other people, not just DID people, but anybody who's survived any kind of major trauma that's left a mark on them like that, they find themselves in a position where, because the brain already has an answer for how to react, it just goes into the known reaction mode, almost like running a program.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because it helped protect before, so it's a mechanism that's easily accessible.
Exactly. And when you're in a traumatic situation, when you're being re-traumatized, the brain is desperate for anything it can grab onto. And the thing that is already in place is right there. And so it's a plus and a minus. It gives you a built-in mechanism for, like, we've done this before, we know exactly what to do.
Right.
But on the flip side, it makes it very hard to break out of that pattern of behavior. I mean, how you react while being hurt, that shouldn't ever be a pattern of behavior, but it happens, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So many even take staunch stances on pacifism after a lifetime of aggression and pain. That's another good point. Like, for fuck's sake, there have been so many things in my life that are screaming to be talked about right now, and holy shit. The most immediate thing is, as many of you know, recently a person here on the YouTubes sent an angry mob in my general direction, and that angry mob did the bullying thing. They tried to trigger every trauma they could think of, and because the person and people behind them knew many of my traumas because we had been good friends, they knew which buttons to push, which places to stab, you know. And so it was very, very, very difficult to get through, even knowing they were doing cyberbullying and that was the point. It was still very, very, very difficult to get through. Yet even so, even though that person deliberately tried as hard as he could to hurt me, I do not want to hurt him back. That's why I don't name his name. That's why I'm not going to send a mob back in return. That's not how fucking adults behave, you know?
No. And it
It's
doesn't do anything.
kind of the same thing. Because I've experienced so much pain, I don't want to cause pain to others.
Right.
You know?
I get it.
Doggo has opinions.
Right? He's mad about it.
That's fair. That's fair.
He's mad about it. He's very protective of me because, you know, I mean, and now he's protective of you because you're my friend. So
now I do understand there's a difference between wanting to cause pain to others and holding people accountable for what they've done. Because if we want them to do better, they have to understand what they did was not right, that it did cause harm. And so there has to be some kind of accountability. But justice and revenge are very different things. And it's super important to keep those separate, you know?
True. Yeah, I do. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Myth number 3, I think. This will probably be the last one because this goes on and on and on. And I do want to get to the other paper. But this is the myth is DID isn't real. It's a condition created by therapists, or it's exaggerated BPD, a borderline personality disorder, or it's attention seeking. This is another big one that people throw at a lot of trauma survivors is you're just attention seeking. Most of us don't want to talk about our traumas ever. It's very hard to talk about these things. I only mention a thing when it's important, you know?
Yeah.
Or I perceive it to be important. C'est la vie. Sometimes it is important and I don't mention it anyway because I have that aversion to bringing up all that stuff.
Right.
And some people even say that it's HPD. I'm not familiar with that one. And compulsive lying or something else. And research begs to differ. Now, this is another important one for a lot of other traumatic response conditions and other conditions for that matter. A lot of people make up bullshit to dismiss something as a mental illness or you're just attention seeking or whatever the case may be. The research begs to differ. Almost always. Like anything you can name. There's people who say PTSD isn't a real thing, that therapists made it up, or it's an exaggeration of something else, or it's a person is being attention seeking. We know it's fucking real, but there's people who still say it's made up or attention seeking or whatever. Like, holy shit. So DID has distinct markers.
They're ignorant.
Exactly. It's willful ignorance.
Yeah.
It's looking at the pile of science and going, nuh-uh, because I want it to be a different way.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's creationist thinking.
Yeah.
So DID has distinct markers that separate it from all other disorders already in the DSM, and it's conclusive that DID results from long-term childhood trauma and nothing else. It's the only condition that has such pronounced amnesic gaps, i.e. missing time. It should be noted, a person experiencing amnesia due to physical trauma, you get a brain injury, or for another reason, you have to go into a chemical coma, whatever the case may be, you can't have missing time for that reason. But we're talking about a disorder rather than physical damage to the actual brain.
Yeah.
Differentiated personality states. That's another important indicator, because while you can have other things like bipolar, I mentioned earlier, you have differentiated states for your mind to be in. You could call it a personality state, but it's not the same as having distinct identities, you know?
Yeah.
As well as exposure to extensive trauma. It did not just materialize from thin air or without solid precedent. It's not a thing that somebody just made up one day, you know? I don't know this word. Iatrogenic?
Iatrogenic. That means doctor caused. The
Okay.
treatment causes it.
Okay, they say therapist created, but yeah, I hadn't come across that term before.
Mhm.
We're learning many things today that we didn't expect to. They do not present as the same as authentic DID and can be distinguished just as malingerers and facetious presentations can be separated. There's more links, which may or may not work. For more valuable research on DID validity, more links, and it just goes on. And there's probably a lot of cool, interesting stuff there, but I wanted to get onto this Cleveland Clinic page because it talks about DID as it relates to multiple personality disorder, because like the previous article said, there's a lot of outdated information running around. So Cleveland Clinic usually has solid info. So
Yeah.
what do they have to say about the interaction of these two things? Oh, goodness. I think probably a quick break is in order, though, because I'm feeling very dry. I don't really want to run the apologist supercut, though, because that's not super fitting.
Yeah.
I guess the closest related one is, once again, the video referenced in this ad drops tomorrow, so keep that in mind. But, you know, enjoy the Schadenfreude, I guess. Hey, want to do something good? Recently, a person who had sent me this version of my logo, unsolicited, made public statements promoting violence against minority women and survivors of abuse. Now that person's gift will do some good instead. 100% of the proceeds from sales of this survivor's mug will go to fund the nonprofit organization RAIN in their efforts to provide vital resources to survivors and to build a future where fewer of us need this kind of help. Find this item at my store at betterthanember.com. And if you want to learn more about how you can be better at supporting survivors, check out this video, where I've distilled the best practices for helping survivors that I collected from speaking with actual crisis professionals at RAIN, Willow Grove, Vera House, and independent counselors. Whenever you can turn the harmful acts of others into something good, that is an epic win. So yay. I realized we could have had the chat up on the side. It's fine. It's fine.
I have to leave the
We're-
page to answer anybody, so I'm trying not to do that, but okay.
I have to do that to use emojis, which is one of the reasons that, alas, I don't get to drop the emojis as long as I like, because we do have some pretty fucking cool emojis. Like, Jesus and SpongeBob, for example. Did you know we have Jesus and SpongeBob emojis? We do. So, join memberships and help
Join the
support
channel.
Yeah.
And if you're not,
Oh, goodness.
if you're not subscribed to me, please go subscribe to me, because I'm almost at 500.
Hell
Like
yeah.
480 something. Yeah.
And for anybody who doesn't know, YouTube has different levels for different things. 500 is one of those levels. You need 500 subscribers, 3 videos, which you've easily got covered, and what is it, 3,000 hours of watch time?
I think no, the first one is 1,000 hours to get super chats, and then it's 3,000 to get into the monetization, like ads.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what all the specifics are at that, because they changed the rules after I was already at 1,000. So,
Gotcha.
but
Yeah.
they did turn on some things at the 500 subscriber level. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you watch some videos, make sure you stick around, and because there's live shows. I don't think you're quite at every other Tuesday yet. So it's still a hit or miss thing.
I took a break during concert season, so in December during the holidays. So I'm actually I think I'm gonna try to do every Tuesday at 9:30. I'm gonna try that for a while, and my ADHD might not be able to handle it, but I'm gonna try to at least kind of catch up a little bit from the couple of weeks that I've missed. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yay.
And Aunt Jer's dropping the link to go subscribe.
Thank you.
And also, if you're new here, if you're joining us for the first time, please take a second to subscribe here, because there are more levels past where I've got some cool buttons. I can forward a stream to somewhere else. I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things. But there's another button I want. It's the fundraiser button, to be able to turn on an actual fundraiser directly through YouTube instead of saying, like, go buy this merch and all the proceeds will go to a certain foundation. I want to be able to just do a fundraiser. But to get that button, I need 10,000 subscribers. It's a big reach. We're about a quarter of the way there, but I know it can be done if people push the button. First of all, because I know only 20% of people who view these are subscribed, because I can see the analytics. If everybody who watches these actually hits the button, it'll get us a lot of distance there, but also use the share function, because getting these videos in front of other people is the only way we're going to get there, you know, to get enough people to cross that threshold. That, to my knowledge, that's the only thing that turns on at 10K. There may be other things. I don't know what they are. I do not care. I want to be able to do real fundraisers. And also, I believe the work we do here is important. I like to think that a lot of you agree. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Please share it. It's valuable for its own reasons, but also to grow the channel so we can do real fundraisers. That's my next goal, and I appreciate your help with it.
Everybody help. Okay, I'm sorry. In the middle of that, I reacted to Bree's comment about me. She's very sweet.
She
Also,
is.
also because she thinks I'm actually younger than Adina Menzel. It's great.
I mean,
That's
who
awesome.
can even tell age anymore?
Yeah.
Like, what is time? It's fine.
It's a construct. It's a wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey kind of thing.
That's right. We made it up. In fact, we did a video about that not long ago too. We learned about how we, and there's one coming up, I think next week. It's how we've defined time, the terms we use, the models we use, the concepts have shaped how history unfolds. It's another one of those things, like how we understand the thing changes how we understand the thing.
Yeah.
Humans are weird. Okay, Cleveland Clinic. Dissociative identity disorder is a mental health condition where you have two or more separate personalities that control your behavior at different times. Sort of. When personalities switch, you'll have gaps in your memory. Not necessarily. See, this may be some of that outdated information where we were making the switch from multiple personality disorder to the broader dissociative identity disorder. Again, not conclusive, anecdotal, but still exemplative. Every system I know does not experience gaps in memory, right? The alter doesn't hide memory from another persona. You know, it can happen, but it's not an always thing, you know?
Yeah.
These identities are usually caused by living through trauma. See, this is definitely outdated information, because this situation is always caused by living through trauma, always and only. And it's a specific kind of trauma that occurs at a specific developmental stage, you know?
Yeah, right.
Psychotherapy can help manage your symptoms. I mean, can help manage. Like a lot of psychological things, there isn't really a cure. You can't really, it's like scars on your physical body. You can help them heal better, but they're always going to be a scar, you know? So what is dissociative identity disorder? According to the Cleveland Clinic, dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder and split personality disorder, sort of, is a mental health condition. Notice how they don't say illness, where you have two or more separate identities. Disassociate means to separate or disconnect. People with dissociative identity, my apologies, Andrew, I'm still saying it. People with dissociative identity disorder may experience several different personalities, usually referred to as alters. Each identity may have different behaviors, memories, thought patterns, or expressions. And this is another important note. there's a difference in the personas. If you put a person into a brain scan reader, EKG, I may be confusing that with the heart monitor thing. But if you scan the brainwaves, the different alters will register as entirely different minds on the brainwave patterns.
Wow.
It's pretty neat.
That is.
And that's a big differentiator in that there is a physically detectable thing. AJ says
EEG. I was trying to think. Thank you, AJ.
I know it's close, but like it's yeah.
I was like, wait, it's not a PET scan because you could do that for the brain too. Yes.
Yeah, EKG is the heart thing. So yeah,
Right.
at least I knew which thing I was mixing it up with.
Thank you. Electroencephalogram. Encephalo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah. But in any case, it's one of the things that you can externally detect, and it isn't the case in other situations. For example, to bipolar again, the different brain states, they register as different brain states, not entirely different brains, right? Like when you're in a manic state, it'll show you as being neurologically speaking, highly agitated, very active. Whereas when you're in the depressive state, you're barely active at all. But it doesn't show as being an entirely different person's brain, you know?
Yeah, like a completely different pattern. Yeah.
Oh, thought patterns, right? And expressions. Expressions is another big differentiator, because like when a person has a fugue identity, for example, like because of physical amnesia, often the muscle memory will still work because it's not the same as memory. It's lizard brain stuff. And so you'll see a person with a fugue state have some mannerisms, some idiosyncrasies, some expressions, some body language, some behaviors that are identical to the pre-amnesia personality, but there'll be some that aren't, and it's weird. You get uncanny valley kind of vibes. But there have been real stories of people who have been found out living their lives in a fugue state that got determined to be a missing person from years or even decades before by these weird personality idiosyncrasies that got maintained in their fugue identity. And when you talk to them, they'll say something along the lines of, I was in a car crash, I woke up with no memory, and I just never figured out who I was. I built a new life here in this town where I recovered, you know?
Wow.
It turns out they are the other person. And it was a person who knew the other person randomly running into them at a restaurant or something and seeing their behaviors and being like, you know, you remind me a lot of this guy that went missing 30 years ago or whatever, you know?
Gee. That sounds like a movie.
Weird. It does. In fact, I'm pretty sure they've made a movie about it. Because there've been a couple remarkable cases like that. It's stupid rare because, for one, for it to happen is kind of rare, and for a person to meet a person that they knew before they went missing, also super rare, and then to get to know the person and come to understand their history, to be able to connect the dots that there was an amnesia thing.
Yeah,
not super common. But on the flip side, there are 300 million humans just in the United States. So no matter how rare a thing may seem, statistically, there's people out there doing it, you know? Probably lots of them. AJ says, I made the brains image and posted it on my YouTube. Posts just for you. I don't know what that means either, but now I want to go look. Because I'm a curious being. So let me see here. Let's go to ways to human and bring up the page and bring up the posts. And okay. Share this tab.
What are you
The
doing?
thing we were talking about.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What?
Brains.
What are you doing?
I am easily amused, as all the world doth know. Oh, goodness. So yeah, that's neat. And also, thanks for that, AJ. That was very fast. That was pretty nifty. All right, trying to continue on. We're doing our best here, folks. The identities might have different ethnicities and ways of interacting with their environments. These personalities may control your behavior at different times. Memories may not transfer from one to the other. This is weird writing style. Like, first it talks about people with, each identity may, and then in this paragraph it's saying the personalities may control your behavior. Like, instead of talking about it in a clinical sense, physicians describing things or a teacher teaching about things, it's starting to come up as more like we're telling you about a thing you're going through, as if they're assuming that only a person with DID might be reading this in order to better understand their own condition. I mean, I'm sure it's just a colloquialism, a common, like it happens again down here, your relationships, your ability, but I don't know. You'd imagine that with any sort of editorial oversight, a person would catch that and be like, that's not how that should be phrased,
Right.
It's very strange.
Should be one way or the other, I think.
I just don't like it. Maybe I'm being pedantic. I probably am.
Am I the only one hearing an echo of me now?
I don't hear an echo of you for what it's worth. However, if it's my speaker being picked up by my microphone, I would be the only one who doesn't hear an echo of you. So, chat, if you hear an echo of Marin, do let me know. Also, random, and I meant to begin at the beginning of the show. Okay, if Jester's hearing an echo, yep, my microphone turned itself up. I have to balance my microphone volume with my speaker volume to prevent that from happening, but I cannot wear headsets because I've had ear infections for a lot of months. I'm getting to the point where I have to do math to figure out how many months because I can't get anyone to treat my fucking ear infections. Not the point. The point is I have to use the speaker. And if the microphone sensitivity is too high, it picks up the sound from the speaker. So I have to keep them balanced so I can hear, but the microphone doesn't. And when it turns itself up, it starts to.
Gotcha.
It's a bitch. Yeah. Anyway, Answer says changing POV during any writing is unprofessional. I tend to agree, but again, I'm kind of pedantic. I'm kind of snippy that way. Right. Memories may not transfer from one identity to another, which can cause amnesia or gaps in memory. The presence of amnesia is often an important symptom that raises concern for the diagnosis. DID interferes with your ability to function day to day. It can impact your relationships. Hold, please. I'm so fucking dry. I hate winter. DID interferes with your ability to function in your day to day. It can impact your relationships with others and your performance at work. That's what makes it a disorder, as opposed to, say, a mental illness or something that is weird, but not a disorder. A lot of people have this idea that disordered means it's not going according to plan. There is no plan. That's not how biology works. That's not how people work. That's not how anything works. Disorder means you're not able to function in a typical fashion, that it gets in your way of living a typical life. Not that there's something inherently wrong with it. We had to address this issue with autism, because for a while people would say, oh, autism is a mental disorder because it's preventing you from living a regular life, but it's not actually. It's
right.
It can interfere with living your life in a typical way, but it's more that our society is unnecessarily being exclusionary in the way it operates.
It's like interferes with. Oh, I'm echoing again.
Well, shit.
I know. Sorry. It interferes with living life in this type of society that requires non-neurodivergence to be normal. Yeah, neurotypical. I hate that word, by the way. We can do a whole show on that.
Non-neurodivergence. Yes.
Non-neurodivergent people. Yeah. We're all neurodivergent though. I mean, like we're all different neurologically. So whatever. So yeah.
Yeah.
But growing up in this type of culture, this go, 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 go. Yeah.
For real. That'll drive anybody crazy.
It's not good
But
for anybody.
It's a spectrum thing. By definition, with a spectrum, everyone is on it. You just might be all the way at one end, but you're on it, you know?
Right.
Ay, ay, ay. Jester says, a lot of the stories I read change POV often. I think they would lose something if they did. For a narrative, sure. Fictional tale or even a nonfiction recounting of an event, you'll switch from perspective to perspective. We're not talking about a difference in perspective per se. We're not changing the character who's talking here. This is a piece of academic information that's changing the nature of how it's presenting the information midway through. It's changing from a discussion of the material to a discussion to the reader. You know, it's a very different thing, and it's probably not a big deal, but it threw me off, you know?
Yeah.
So it has an impact. Some people get thrown off by it, and that interferes with its ability to communicate its point, which is why it's broadly recommended not to do that.
There you go.
DID is one of several dissociative disorders. These disorders affect your ability to connect with reality. No. It's your ability to live your day-to-day life. My goodness. Cleveland Clinic, you can do a lot better than this. There's no date on this article.
They usually do a lot better than this. This is kind of odd.
Mm-hmm. My goodness. Like, I mean, when it comes to... Here's a reframing device that may be useful for a lot of people. Your primary identity is a fugue identity. You were born without one, and you had to grow it. The fact it grew along with you isn't actually relevant. You weren't pre-programmed with who you are. It developed as you grew. That's why it's so adapted around the things that happened in your life. And the things that happened to you specifically, because it's an organic thing. Any other kind of identity either splits off of the existing persona or is generated in place of the existing persona. But they're all generated, you know? Just because your original one's been there longer doesn't mean that it's more real. There is no real persona in some kind of objective way, you know? So to imply that these DID identities, these alters, are in some way not real, well, they're no less real than your primary personality, you know? Two different types of dissociative identity disorder. Interesting. Possession. Identities present as if an outside being or spirit took control of your body. Oh, okay. Possession. It's a demon. You may speak or act differently in a way that's obvious to others. It's an unwanted identity, and the personality switch is involuntary. Okay. I don't know if that tracks with modern information, but I can see why people might think of that as a demonic possession. Like all of a sudden, bloop, you're a different person, you know? And non-possession. Identities are less known to others. You might feel a sudden change in your self-identification as if you're watching yourself in a movie, an out-of-body experience. That's not the same as an out-of-body experience. Instead of being in control of your speech, emotions, or behaviors. That is a different phenomenon entirely. I just want to say that is a thing almost everyone has experienced at some point. It is not the same as DID. Your primary awareness is still there. You're just not in direct control. I've noticed myself doing it from time to time. And it's a weird fucking thing. I tend to categorize it in my own idiosyncratic way in regards to a novel by John Scalzi called Red Shirts. It's about characters on a Star Trek-like show who become aware of the fact they're on a Star Trek-like show. And when the show is happening, then the narrative takes over and they all lose the ability to make their own decisions and control their own actions because they have to obey the script. I've noticed shit like that happening not in my own life, of course, but in other people as well. But it's really weird and terrifying in your own life where like an event will start to happen and there's an awareness. There's an event, capital E, happening, something that is supposed to happen, something that feels like it's scripted. There's that sense of destiny about it, even if it's not a big dramatic moment or whatever. And a person will say something. You're aware of the fact they're going to say that. And you're aware of what you want to do in response. You know exactly how to handle it. There's almost a sense of deja vu, of rehearsal to the moment. But what comes out is very different from what you intended to say. Like, to put it simply, someone draws a tic-tac-toe board. Now, this is not nearly the same level of thing, but you see the tic-tac-toe board, you understand what's about to happen. The person makes a move. They put an X in the center. You've seen this happen. You've been through it so many times. You get that deja vu sense. And so you want to put your circle in one of the corners and you go to do that. But instead what happens is you put your circle in one of the other areas that isn't one of the corners. And you did not want that to happen, and yet it happened anyway, and you watched it happen. You did that even though zero part of you wanted that to be what happened. That is this non-possession effect. It is not the same as DID at all, and almost everyone has had it, but most of us either dismiss it as a weird thing, a glitch in the moment, or just simply don't remember, whatever the case may be. But now that you're aware that that's an effect, keep an eye out for it, and you'll see it pops up strangely often. It's very weird. You seem to be muted.
I've been reacting this whole time. Dang. No,
I
anyway.
wondered why. I hadn't heard from you.
I muted because the dog started barking again. I don't know why he's bugging me. It's because he hasn't had his medicine today. He's very stuck to his schedule, and I messed up his schedule today. And he's like, "You did not give me my magic cheese," which is what we put the medicine in. Anyway.
Okay.
So he's having a little fit now. Yeah, why are we reading this article if it's got such bad information? I don't get it. What's going on? I mean, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, like, why is this happening?
I know. I'm like, Cleveland Clinic normally. I mean, having bad information is sometimes okay. So this is a plus and minus of this particular show because we're learning stuff that I don't necessarily know very well. Means that bad information could sneak past me, but addressing bad information when we come across it means we can dispel it in real time. Like, oh, look at this thing. That's not correct. That's not true. I realize I may have come across as a crazy person just then, talking about how the narrative can take over. Again, that's the way I understand it. I don't know if there's an actual term for that sort of thing. It's just a conceptualization I put together, modeled on a fictional story by a guy who really likes Star Trek. You know, it's just a description of the effect. But it's the fact that anybody can experience that shows diagnostically it's not a feature of DID because it's not exclusive to DID.
Yeah.
And therefore it's not a diagnostic criteria, you know?
Yeah, understood.
My goodness. I'm we're talking about a lot of things today.
I know, we're learning a lot.
I know. What the hell was I doing? How common is it? Right, common. They also say about 1.5% of people. Oh, one small US study. So maybe it's the same one as we found in the other thing. What do they mean by small study? Let's see. This is okay. Maybe we should have just looked at this in the first place. Dissociative identity disorder, an empirical overview. Empirical, of course, meaning stuff that can be verified. So it's data-based rather than phenomenon based, seeing things happen. This is what can we study about it. Let's see, how small is this study? Well, let's see. The objective of this paper, despite its long and auspicious place in the history of psychiatry, dissociative identity disorder has been associated with controversy. This paper aims to examine the empirical data related to DID and outline the contextual challenges to its scientific investigation. It's difficult to investigate because a lot of it is very, 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 very internal. Let's see. The empirical literature on DID is accumulating, although some areas remain under-investigated. Existing data shows DID as complex, valid, and a not uncommon disorder associated with developmental and cultural variables and is amenable to psychotherapeutic intervention. Okay, so not all that much data, but c'est la vie.
Yeah, I was thinking they were going to put the number of people in the methods, but that's fine. They didn't, so it's okay.
Maybe it's further down in the paper and they just didn't put it in the surface stuff. I don't know. We just found that thing now, so it's fine. Do as Bree says, do. I'm trying to think of what you ever read a thing and know it relates to a music and you try to figure out the music from the thing?
I would just go do. I don't know that song.
Chat, are we supposed to sing in chat?
Okay, all right, you have to look at this face. You got to look at this face.
Absolutely. Puppy time.
Okay, now he's walking
and
away.
he's gone.
What do you need? What do you need? Why are you bugging me? Are you a good boy? Yeah. Yeah, he's wandering and being a crazy boy.
Oh no, how do I? There we go. That's a rule of the internet, by the way, for anybody watching. When a pet shows up, full screen.
In biggin, yes.
Yep.
Mana do. Yes, thank you, Bree. Mana do. Yeah. There we go.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually starting to fade a little bit. So I'm just letting you know if I start to so a little.
It's all good. I actually there's more. There's always more. We could go on and on, the symptoms and whatnot, but like we mentioned, the information on that particular page seems to be tragically out of date. And I think we've covered most of the important basics of at least what it is.
Yes.
It's alters, figments. I think most people watch fictives have an understanding of what those are in concept. We've covered how it happens, why it happens, how it interacts with what it tells us about our own identity, and a bunch of other really interesting stuff as well. So I think we've covered all the main points.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway for me is again the spectrum of it, right? That sometimes we dissociate, but it doesn't mean it's the disorder, right? And that's and how it comes about. I know, sorry. how it comes about, so that's tough. It's tough. So
yeah,
but I learned a lot. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we covered a lot of cool stuff, and it ties in with a lot of other cool stuff. But yeah, don't let people bullshit you about DID. It is a real thing, but it's not something you can catch. It's if you come across a person who identifies as a system, that's what they're talking about. And you just need to be understanding that, like many of us alive today, they are a trauma survivor, and they're trying to live their lives under the burden of that trauma to the best of their ability.
Right.
And that's really all you need to know about it.
That's right.
So yeah.
Very good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Did something.
A lot of fun. Yeah. Let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we do. For anybody joining us for the first time and who's made it 2 hours into this, we're here every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I'm often joined by different people. Usually it's Lil of Lilable Trades or Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, but it could be any number of people. Deviant Outcast or My Adkison or Jess from How to Rule an Asteroid. there's so many people who may pop in, including Bree and AJ from time to time. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you join us for our weekday morning show. Before we go, stuff coming up. I'm currently working on another bonus show, which happened from time to time. Maybe it'll be for later today. We will see. But I found a debate on whether transgenderism is legitimate, where both interlocutors try to engage in good faith. And so it might be interesting to review something where a person isn't deliberately being bad faith, just simply mistaken about things. So I'm going to try to cover that as a bonus transfactual, possibly later today. We'll see. Make sure your notifications are turned on. What have you got coming up next, Mark?
I'm planning a live for Tuesday 9:30, and it's still planning in the planning session. So I'm not sure which of my many topics that I want to cover I'm going to do, but that'll be Tuesday night at 9:30. So that's the plan. Yay!
Yeah. More topics and things. And again, Enter with the link. If you haven't yet found Misinterpretations channel, there it is. It's hooray and things. And also, like I mentioned earlier, Saturday, that how to help survivors video drops, and that's a regular video, so you can use the hype feature if that's enabled on whatever system you're viewing on. And it's a regular video, so please do share. As you know, mostly I do live streams these days, so the regular videos don't get a whole lot of love. That one especially, it matters. So, please do spread the word on that one. And as always, remember, you don't have to pretend that other people going through things you don't understand aren't real because you don't understand them, because you are better than religion. Toodles! Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for December. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Maya Adkison, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lil of All Trades, Deviant Outcast, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, The Mighty Filbert, Secular Feelinist, and Geo Sam. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember, or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt.